You must be really looking forward to this, so you can all relax. My take on this, David, is that because I am I teach CAL or TEL, Computer Assisted Language Learning, or Technology Enhanced Language Learning, to pre-service teachers. And one thing that I've been wondering, how come our teachers cannot really try to apply what they have learned about using technology in the classrooms? And I have not been able to find a solution, and now I know what to do. To tell them they cannot make any copies. They don't have any budget. So they will go to the technology and do it. So thank you so much. I have learned a lot. This is so beneficial. And also, I really like the models, the 6 models. If I understand it correctly, it was the number 3 and number 4 types of models that work best.
It depends on what we're doing, but again, that's something that I've been very happy with my school, is that depending on what we're working with, depending on with whom I'm working, and the grade levels and the groups, there's no such thing as the best co-teaching model, and they have been very flexible. Like with Wilson, for example, we have the most classes together, but sometimes we teach in the same room, sometimes we don't teach in the same room, sometimes he leads and I pull out students, sometimes he leads and I walk around and help. So I would say we do almost all of them, and it really depends on what we're working on, what would be most appropriate in this context, and it's wonderful to have that amount of flexibility.
I don't think it's easy for you to come up with all these 6 different models. It would have to take a lot of collaboration and experience to be able to come to classify them, put them into different categories.
I didn't make those, I found those.
Oh, you found those.
Yeah.
All right. But still, it's very useful.
I agree.
Yeah. And if you can, somehow in the future share more of that experience about what kind of, models will work better for what kind of teaching settings?
Of course, yeah.
Thank you. And one last thing before you go out, you go to lunch break, is I've heard a lot of flexibilities. Oh,
just a
flexibility.
Not yet. We need to do World Cafe.
Okay. Well, just about the flexibility. I hear you say flexibility repetitively. Your different teachers said that there's no structure. We were told to do whatever I want to do. I wanted to share with you is that would be such a envy for all Taiwanese teachers, because that's something that they don't do. I'm not sure if this is something they don't have, but that's something they don't do. What they do is very, very structured, because they constantly have this time pressure. There's so many things to cover. At a certain time, you have to finish certain lessons and all that. So it's a very strong contrast between what you do and what they think that they are allowed to do.
Isn't that also a personality thing? Because some people need a structured format. Some people, if you give them open rein, it's okay, great. I like to operate like that. Right. If they say, okay, come up with your own idea, I'll write the lesson plans, I'll send it to my co-teacher, she checks it and she says, okay, I agree with this change, I can do that. But some people actually need a bit of I work up. It's a personality part, yes.
But I can actually speak to that.
Okay, cool.
So the issue is, and so Wilson can be very creative, but he is, in his mind, bound by the textbook. So when I was teaching in the U.S., we had the textbook as a guideline, as opportunities. We had our standards that we had to meet. But here, a lot of teachers have to teach every page. Students have to complete every workbook page. And if you, for example, say, this song isn't really necessary right now, we're going to skip that and spend a little bit more time on what we did yesterday because it wasn't really working, students will get really uncomfortable. But teacher, we haven't done this page. We can't skip it because you get into the system of everything has to be done, and you've got parents saying everything has to be done, and principals and everybody saying everything has to be done. So some people like that structure, but other people say, I would love to just not do this unit and just take the ideas and create my own lessons, but everybody's going to flip out if I do that. So I'm very fortunate. I feel fortunate, and when I say flexibility, I've been given global English class and also clubs, so that I'm able to do those things. And it can be stressful because I have to make it on my own.
We do the boring.
But everybody else has to finish the textbook and has to finish the workbook, and I don't have that burden.
Very insightful. Thank you so much. But we need to change too. I feel that because we don't teach books, we teach students.
Yes. Oh, great.
So, yeah. So we maybe with us working together, we find something that's better for our school.
It's kind of need a happy medium because it's really frustrating when you have to teach so specifically to a curriculum in a book. But then for me, like I met with my teachers before the semester ended, and I said I need more structure because for me to have 100% flexibility and I can choose to teach whatever I want is like too much swimming around in my head. I can't make decisions. So I need more of that structure, but I don't want to have to teach directly from the book, but I still kind of envy having that structure, whereas people who have to teach strictly from the book envy the people who have total flexibility. But I think when you start to work together with those teachers that do, you find a balance that I think works well for most people.
One thing that can be very helpful in this case is Taiwan does have standards, and there are grade level standards, there are word lists, there are grammar expectations. So even if you're not working in the textbook, you might say, so one thing that I've been working on, I teach mostly 7th graders, I'm working from the elementary word list because I know they have already been introduced to those things, but I know they have not retained those words in that pattern. So I spend my time working on getting them to use what they have already been exposed to or learned instead of constantly presenting new information and just in one ear and out. So I use the government word list that I think people in the MOE posted and made available for us. So you might use those to help build that structure. It's online. Do you know where the Taiwan word lists and like the English? So those things can all, yeah, they can all be there.
Yes, they're changing the curriculum for next year, right?
No, not the next year. It will be start around 108. 108 that will be 2 years after 2000. But not a lot of change. Just size change, minor. What textbooks are not? We have different textbooks.
Yes.
The textbooks are
That use the curriculum to
based on the curriculum.
Thanks. Oh, well, I just kind of grabbed it.
I would normally say age before.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
I don't know. I'm a very anti-textbook person. I don't teach textbooks in the States either. Marilyn Burns, a really well-known math guru in the United States, says if you're teaching a textbook, you're not teaching children. You're not teaching them math, you're teaching them a textbook. We're teaching children a textbook, we're not teaching them English. And the textbook is not what drives the curriculum. It should be the needs of the individual student. And we need to step back and look at that. I have never seen people grade so many pages in my entire 40 years of teaching as what these people do here. I don't understand. There are so many things that they could be doing that are positive things for students, preparing. They don't do centers, they don't do these things because they have to grade every blessed page, and every question must have a check on it to say that you looked at it. And that is not teaching. That's not teaching, and it's not helping the kids.
And a lot of them know that, though.
I think they know that, but what
The system is broken.
the system needs to step back and look at this.
It's just a concept.
Because I do have a foreign teacher in our school, and we don't want her to teach textbook, really. Junior high school, I work in junior high school, and I have a co-teacher, we have a foreign teacher, and actually we don't want her to teach the textbook, because we can't do that. We, local English teacher, we can do that. And the reason why we need a foreign teacher is that we want our students to experience more cultural differences and more things from outside the world. So we prefer our foreign English teacher to design their own lessons. So it can be like a topic-based or theme-based for movies, holidays, anything. Okay, wow, so many hands. What happened now?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say exactly the same thing. I've been in the program now for like actually 6 years,
Right.
and I just landed into it. It was like very quick. It was 2 weeks after I'd seen the job announcement. 2 weeks later, I was in junior high school,
Yeah.
and I was basically told, you know, okay, so what would you like me to do? Well, we want you to teach English. And you're like, okay, great, yeah, and that's the job, I know. So, I mean, seriously, that's the answer. A lot of the times, teach English. Like, what would you like me to teach? Well, conversational English. Like, what would you like me to teach? Up to you. Like, okay, so I basically designed, the first year was actually really, really hard because all I had to go off was the textbooks, and I didn't want to use the textbooks. So what I do is I've done it topic-based. So for example, with the first years, I only teach grade 7 and grade 8. So with the first years, I start off trying to use like the already acquired knowledge and vocabulary, and then just adding more vocabulary into it to extend the vocab base. I don't really teach grammar unless there's a particular point. At the beginning of the second year, I mean, it's always good to know what your other teachers are teaching. So what I do at the beginning of the second year is I know that that's when they get introduced to past tense. So I spend about 5 weeks at the same time reinforcing what my co-teachers are doing. But otherwise, yeah, I just have pretty much free reign. I do movies, and then we watch movie trailers, and they have to identify genres and actors, and they have to tell me what they think will happen in the movie and things. I try and make it as interesting for them, because I know that it's not just in English where they have to use textbooks, it's in every subject. They can even fail PE. I mean, it's like, they get graded on PE, for goodness sake, you know? So, but it's like, it is a class, and you have to, you learn how to run. I mean, I just don't understand it. So, I just want them to feel comfortable, relaxed, speaking English. I don't really care if they make many mistakes. I want them to have the confidence to make mistakes. I want them to feel relaxed speaking to people from other places. I don't want them to be afraid of the unknown. And I want them to feel that just because they can't do something now doesn't mean that with a bit of practice they can do it later. So I kind of feel my job is as much helping them develop as people, functioning adults, rather than just robots who just repeat stuff back to you. I can't stand that. So, I mean, I'm very, very lucky that I don't have to teach from a book. I can do whatever I want and whatever interests them. And one other thing that I always do, I like to tell jokes, and I self-deprecate, so they can have a laugh at me, and I can have a gentle laugh at them. Just have fun. You know, that's really all I want to do is have fun. Yeah, so I mean that's what I do. I'm trying to have
I got a quick question. Is the MOE thinking of doing any programs to educate parents? In terms of what to expect, like you said, like parents don't freak out if we don't do a tick in the book, okay? Relax. So just to educate the parents on what to expect and managing their expectations, because I sometimes think, remember it's the takes a village, you know, it takes a village. You're going to educate the kids, but the parents are getting left behind. And tell them, listen, you know, in English learning, it's not math, you can't do it in 1 week. And like the Bushman that, oh, he's been studying for 2 months, why can't he say anything? It's like, okay, it's 2 months.
So that's what we're trying to change for the new curriculum. We have a new 12-year curriculum, and that is we're going to emphasize the core competence. You know, to reinforce the students' core competency. So we will encourage the student. The teaching will be more focused on the student centers, and we will encourage students to like a self-study or to motivate them, and so they can ask questions, they can do the critical thinking, and they can do the judgment.
By themselves.
Yes, by themselves. So can make suggestions or like make a decision. So, but it's take step by step, because back 2 years ago we are task oriented, because everything you do in junior high school is for pass the big test. Yes, so that's just like a Korea and Japan. But now we're trying to change it, but gradually, right? Okay, so you can just change. Yeah, you can change a little bit by a little bit, but not just but just don't change anything. Okay, you can change a little bit, but you just don't refuse to change. Yes, so that hampers. Okay, so sorry.
Yeah, guys, I just think it's important to realize that in the country, generation-wise, like a lot of the parents who are having children now were some of the first people to have English education. So all they've got to go on really is the book coming home and their kid being able to point to something and say that it's something. And as far as like English centres and stuff like that, like how much in your guys' schools, like my school hasn't got a chance of getting the finances for that. Like I don't have a classroom, I don't have a projector, I don't have anything, which is fine with me because I prefer the old school. But yeah, what I think would be more beneficial is if you could give access to give the parents access to their children via video streaming. Not streaming, sorry, but like being able to upload a video of say these interactive class activities or something like that, so the parent can actually physically see, you know, what's going on. They don't understand it, that's fine, but like yeah, just the gaps in knowledge that I've seen in the countryside schools that I'm at is just phenomenal. So I'm busy with that as well as the textbook, getting foundational stuff happening. But yeah, giving the parents access, even a teacher day where they can parent day where they can come and we can perform these activities. You know, sort of, I don't want to say demo, but sort of more or less like a demo. You know, and it takes the pressure off us in a sense of needing to tick every box and all that stuff. Like two of my co-teachers are super particular about it. One of my teachers is a bit more relaxed, but it's just how it is because of the lack of English ability in the generation above.
Thank you.
If I can add to the idea of sharing videos with parents, I think it'd be cool if we could share videos with each other, have an idea of what's going on in other people's classrooms. Like I said, coming here and seeing these videos was my first opportunity to see other people's context, other people's activities. For those of you who are in the FET Facebook group, you know, I try to post in there regularly because, like most of you, I don't have a textbook and I'm creating stuff from scratch. And I'm spending all this time just for myself. Like, well, maybe I could share this and other people might be able to use it as well. It'd be wonderful, you know, like I could start, I don't know if this exists, but starting a Google Drive, starting a website, starting a place where, I mean, we're all doing the same thing, but we're doing it independently. And I feel like we're spinning our wheels, reinventing the wheel, all doing the same thing. It would be wonderful if we could, you know, share more often. You know, I can start that if something like that doesn't exist.
Okay, I just would like to add my contribution at 10 cents, if it's okay. Just looking at that board, there is something missing from that board. Language is a tool to complete a task. Language is a tool. Please, let's not forget that. It's not just about finding sentence festival and storytelling. It's a tool to complete a task. So how about putting in there successful completion of tasks? That's skill-based, all right? You know, it's a skill. There's a skill set for it. There are things that you can accomplish using this, and that's what I would like to see more of. Okay, we need to complete tasks. That's skills.
All right, thank you very much. Well, one more comment, and then we're going to wrap up and take breaks, if that's okay with everyone.
Sorry, I'll keep this short. So, I understand that there are some issues, but in my opinion, I was a teacher in America, in a public 4th grade teacher school. So I have taught a public Californian school system. They have, my textbooks were literally, teachers literally had to say dialogues. You cannot say anything else. My principal came to my class every day to check if I said the dialogues correctly.
No way.
Yes. And they expect the students to say a reply back. It states on the manuscript very clearly. So I understand for some, might be a cultural different thing, but I feel like we have to also understand this is Taiwanese culture. Our school systems have been doing this for a very, very long time. Okay, it is a part of our culture. I'm not saying everything is perfect, right? In every country, in every education, things can improve. But you guys choose to come here. I chose to come back to Taiwan to teach.
There's no need to be defensive.
No, I'm not defending. I know. I'm just saying. I chose to come back to the country I love. Yeah? And there are some things I totally don't agree with. There are things I totally agree with. But I chose to sign my contract, and I chose to come to Taiwan. So that's all I'm going to say. That's totally my opinion. Okay, nobody else's opinion. That's totally my opinion. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I think thank you very much, Alex. That's worth being said. Everyone likes to bag on the books. I bag on the books sometimes too, but the books do show what you need, what the students are going to be expected to understand, and so I always try to find a way to merge the book and everything that I wanted to make. I try to make the books real. So that's my challenge, is to do everything we can do that's kind of outside the book, which is I try to do that stuff in terms of making the books real. Now,